Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the class of Advanced Research Methodology. In today's lecture, we will discuss the X-ray diffractometry, the introduction about the Xrd, the basic principles and application of the X-ray diffractometry. Okay, so what is Xrd and for what purpose we can use it? Xrd can be used quantitatively for phase and space group identification of a material. So here we have stated that qualitatively for space group identification and for phase identification of different materials. Xrd can be used quantitatively for determination of lattice parameters and crystal size of the unit cells in a crystalline material. Xrd is also used to investigate the crystal structure of a material. It utilizes X-rays of specific wavelength from certain elements like copper or cobalt. The X-rays obtained from copper has a wavelength of 1.454 Armstrong, where K alpha is basically the K characteristics X-rays. Similarly, the K characteristics X-rays for the cobalt is of the order of 1.79 Armstrong. Similarly, we can use the X-rays from molybdenum, from iron, and from other metals. The wavelength of the X-rays obtained from molybdenum is smaller than these one. It is less than 1 Armstrong. And we use the wavelength which is compatible with the interplanar distance of the crystal materials. Xrd works on the Bragg's diffraction law. 2d sine theta is equal to m lambda, which we will discuss later. So all this is about the Xrd and X-ray diffractometry. So as we know that when we fabricate a material, a crystalline, a polycrystalline or single crystal materials, or similarly, even we can characterize the semi-crystalline materials by using the Xrd facilities. So it gives you uh, different information quantitatively as well as qualitatively about the materials of you have fabricated, or even you can characterize the naturally occurring material. So what are the essential parts of a diffractometer? This is the actual image of the diffractometer, which is available in the Centralized Research Laboratory, University of Peshawar, and it is consisted of an X-ray tube, the source of X-rays, incident beam optics, some optics which control the X-ray beam, condition the X-ray beam before it hits the sample. The gonimeter, it is the platform that holds and move the sample optics detector in our tube. So gonimeter is a assembly on which the sample holder is placed, and it is also connected with the detector, so you can move the sample in three dimension. Similarly, the sample and sample holder. So you need surely a sample which needs to be characterized, and also the sample holder. So sample holder is basically uh, available in the Xrd machines, and it is a part of the Xrd machine. Receiving side optics. The condition the X-ray beam after it has encountered the sample. Detectors. You need a detectors which counts the diffracted beam. That is, the count the number of X-rays scattered by the samples. And also you need a recording facilities, which must be a computer setup, which records the diffracted data, and which we can use it later. So these are the main parts of the Xrd machine. So how the Xrd works, we will discuss in the coming slides. So basically, uh, the crystalline materials is consisting of crystal planes. Like this is just a schematic diagram of the unit cell. So it has different crystal planes in different orientations. And when an X-ray is allowed to fall on the sample, so it is diffracted from the samples, and it is detected by the detector, and it is counted and recorded. So this detector can move in these direction, and it can also move in the three-dimension way. So this is the incident angle, and this is the diffracted angle. So what we get an XRD pattern. So this is the XRD patterns, and it is a plot of the intensity which is obtained from the sample. It is basically the diffracted beam, the intensity of the diffracted beams, and it is the 2 theta along the horizontal axis. It is 2 theta. So we plot the intensity versus the 2 theta. Basically, this one is theta, and this whole is 2 theta. So we will discuss it later during the Bragg's diffraction discussion, the Bragg's law. So in fact, every material has a specific Xrd patterns, and we are interested basically in the number of peaks and its position on 2 theta angle. So each material has a specific pattern. It is just like a fingerprint of the material. So all the patterns are predetermined, and it is fitted to a software which is called as ICDD. We will discuss it in the later slides. Okay, so in fact, in the coming slides, we will discuss the ICDD PDF numbers and the data. So how it works? What is the Bragg's law? In fact, this is the Bragg's law. 2D sin theta is equal to m lambda, where m is the order of diffraction. So in fact, if you see this, these are the crystal planes, and when the X-rays are allowed to fall on these X-rays, so one ray can reflect from the upper plane, and the other can penetrate to the second one plane, and then it can diffract or it can reflect. So here is the detector which detected, and here basically an interference occurs, and we get a diffraction pattern in the form of bright peaks, in fact bright dots, and then we just indirectly take data from those dots as the intensity of the peak. So what is D? D is basically the interplanar distance, And if you see, there is a path difference between these two rays, and if the path difference is equal to m lambda, then there will be a constructive diffraction, and we will obtain a bright spot. So in this law is satisfied. So we get the constructive interference, and we get the bright spots on the photographic film of the detectors. So if you see here, if this is ray 1 and this is ray 2, so ray 2 covers 2d sine theta more distance than ray 1. So if this more distance, basically the path difference is equal to m lambda, then there will be uh, constructive interference, and we will obtain a bright spot. So this is a Bragg's law, and this is d sine theta in this triangle. If you see, there are two triangles. This side is also d sine theta, so both become this side, and this side become 2d sine theta. Here theta is basically the this angle, and this is basically the incident angle. It is also equal to this angle. So depends on the spacing, the wavelength of the incident radiation, and also on the angle, the incident angle. It depends. So why this is theta and this is theta? So theta plus theta is equal to 2 theta. So basically, this is the why we plot the the intensity versus 2 theta degree. Okay, so how it works? We obtain Xrd peaks or Xrd patterns from different materials, like this is silica, this IO2 glass, this is quartz, this is cristobalite. So the formula may be same, but the crystal structure may be different from each other. So if you see, this is a glass, so glass has no peaks, and it has a hump like pattern from the Xrd, and this is from the quartz. You see the patterns, and this is another material, cristobalite. So look at this. The peaks position are different. The number of peaks are different, and this is the 2 theta values, and this is the intensity. So basically, we are not interested in the magnitude of the intensity, rather we are interested in the number of peaks in its position. So each material has its own pattern according to the X-rays element from which the X-rays are obtained. For example, for copper, so it will have these like position, and if you change the element from to cobalt, so the peaks will be same, but it may be shift towards lower or higher 2 theta values. So only the peak position changes by a few degrees, and number of peaks may remain the same. Similarly, the intensity may remain the same, but the position changes by 5 to 10 degrees, roughly, I can say. Okay, so this diffraction pattern, the same one, and if a material has all these, mm, if if we have a sample which containing all these materials, which contain glass, cristobalite, and quartz, so you will see, you will obtain diffraction pattern of this form. So there is a glassy phase, you can see the hump, and you can have the peaks for this cristobalite. Similarly, you can see the peaks for the quartz. Like if you consider this peak and this one peak, so this is far from the quartz, while this peaks and this is from the cristobalite, and the hump is from the. So basically, then you just label and mark that this one is, and this one, so you can mark it as ABC. So all the A peaks are for the quartz, the B peaks are for the cristobalite, and the C peaks, basically there's no peaks in the glass, so there's no need to label peaks for the glass. So for materials which is basically more than having more than two phases, in fact more than one phases, so you obtain peaks for all the phases. So if you combine all these material and you make a single material, so maybe all the crystals are present in their complete specific patterns, and they don't make a chemical reaction. So basically, they don't affect their crystal structure of each other. So you obtain peaks for all the three materials from the samples. Okay, so basically, what happens when an X-ray is allowed to fall on crystal planes? So we should read this paragraph to understand. A polycrystalline sample should contain thousands of crystallites. For every set of planes, there will be a small percentage of crystallites that are properly oriented to diffract the plane perpendicular, bisect the incident and diffracted beams. Basic assumptions of powder diffraction are that for every set of planes, there is an equal number of crystallites that will diffract, and that there is a substantially uh, there is a statistically relevant number of crystallites, not just one or two. So, in fact, uh, when we do XRD, so we can do XRD of a solid bulk material, but sometime mostly we do the XRD of the powder. So, in a powder, there are a lot of crystallites which come in the way of the incident uh, X-rays. So when the crystallites are exposed to the X-rays, so from each plane, each crystalline has a number of planes. Like you can see, there are a lot of planes. So each plane diffract in a different way. In each plane, diffract at a specific position of the two theta values. So all the crystallites, all the planes, the similar planes in all the crystallites diffract at a similar position. So like this is a peak. So in this peak, this is only because of the 100 plane of all the crystal of diffraction from all the crystallites. So this is not from a single crystallite. Basically, it is from a lot of crystallite, but the peak is at the same position of the two theta values. Similarly, if you see this plane, so this is 110. This is basically the Miller indices of a crystal plane. 110 plane. So it is from 110 planes of all the crystallites. Similarly, this is from 11 plane of all the crystallites which are coming in the way of the X-rays. So similarly, so on. So this is all about the how we obtain the crystal uh, XRD diffraction pattern. So this is called a pattern. Okay, so when we obtain data, in fact, diffraction plane, so how to analyze these planes? Database such as the powder diffraction file PDF contain list of thousands of crystalline phases. So we have a database which is basically called the International Center for Diffraction Data, ICDD. So the International Center for Diffraction Data, ICDD, maintains a database of powder diffraction patterns. The powder diffraction file PDF, including the d-spacing related to the angle of the diffraction and relative intensity of the observable diffraction peaks. Patterns may be experimentally determined or computed based on crystal structure and Bragg's law. So computationally, we can obtain a diffraction pattern using the Bragg's law. It is most often used to identify substances based on the X-ray diffraction data and is designed for use with a diffractometer. Uh, Release 2019 of the PDF contains about 900 plus unique material data set. So there are, in fact, more than 900,000, in fact, about 9 lakhs of the PDF cards. This is called a PDF card, powder diffraction file, and it has a specific number, a combination of two group of number, and each data set contain diffraction, crystallographic and bibliographic data, as well as experimental instrument and sampling condition and select physical properties of a common standardized format. This organization was formed in 1941 as the Giant Committee on Powder Diffraction Standard. So it was as JCPDS card. We just called it JCPDS card. In 1978, the name of the organization was changed to the current name, that is the ICDD, to highlight the global commitment of this scientific endeavor. So this is an international data, and we have software like WinExpo on our computers to just analyze our data from the obtained from different crystalline material. So, in fact, what is that data? That data is basically contain different values, different information about the crystal structure. Like, for example, this is about the TiO2, titania. So basically, titania has two electropic form, the inner task and rutile. So it shows the inner task. It also gives you the radiation, which is from copper K alpha 1. Similarly, this is the calibration and reference. There are a lot of information. This is the wavelength of the radiations. This is the 2 theta values, starting the strip angles, the different information, and it gives you the space group. Basically, every material has a specific space group. We will discuss it in the next semester in the functional material, that what is point group, what is space group. There are a total of 230 space groups and 32 point groups, and each material has a specific space group. So, for example, this is a space group, which is basically an array of numbers and letters, each having a specific purpose, and it has latest parameters. Similarly, the density and a lot of information about the crystalline material. So, in fact, this is the quantitative. This is basically the qualitative, and also the quantitative description of the data. And this is the quantitative data. In fact, this is the 2 theta values. This is the d-spacing, and this is the intensity. This is the HKL, the Miller indices planes from which these peaks are obtained, and this is the theta. So if you multiply theta by 2, so it will give you 2 theta, and this is 1 over 2d, and many more. So we just plot 2 theta versus intensity. So only we take only this columns and this columns, and from there then we compare it with the standard data. So then we analyze that which material is this one and what is its space group, what is its latest parameter. Similarly, we can determine the size of the crystallite and a lot of other information from the Xrd data. So there is a grid field analysis, there is basically synchrotron data, and similarly there we can obtain temperature dependent Xrd also, which show you that how the diffraction pattern changes with changing the temperature. So if you have a material and there is a facility of the temperature along with the detection of the Xrd, so you obtained recording a different temperature. So then we can say that at what temperature the phase changes. Basically, when we heat a material, so it changes its phases. Basically, its properties and its crystalline structure changes with the uh, temperature. So we can have also the temperature dependent XRD facility. So this is the actual data which we have obtained experimentally, and this is about the bismuth sodium titanate material. We know that we have fabricated this material as we have discussed in the previous classes by the sol gel method, and then when we characterize it by the XRD, so we obtain this data, and it is a single phase material. So here is only a single phase perovskite material. So AbO3 structure, and on A side there is bismuth, sodium, and barium, and on B side there is titanium. So all these show the crystal planes and the peaks. This is the 2 theta in degrees. This is the intensity, and AU is for arbitrary units. In fact, we are not interested in the intensity. We are just interested in the number and position of these peaks. This B part of this graph is basically we have magnified the peaks. In fact, this peak, the 110 peak, you can see the position of the peak at 38 degree of 2 theta values. This is here. In fact, this is 38. So you can see that how it changes when we have increased the values of barium titanate in this material. In fact, we have increases the barium ion on the A side. So you can see that it shifts towards the lower 2 theta values following the Braze diffraction law. And it is because the barium ion is larger in size relatively comparing to the bismuth and sodium ion at the B side, which basically cause a shift in the XRD patterns toward the lower 2 theta values. If the size of the barium would smaller than bismuth and sodium, then the peaks will shift towards the higher 2 theta values following the Braze diffraction's law. And there is a visible, obvious shift toward the 2 theta values, which show, which confirm that yes, the barium ion is larger than the bismuth and sodium ions in the BNT-BT perovskite structure. So all this is about the XRD. In the present lecture, so we will discuss in the next class the scanning electron microscopy. As we have studied in the previous classes that how to fabricate a material, so we come across these process of all the 10 tech films and the bulk materials using the mix oxide rules, using the sol gel methods, and the PVD and CVD methods for the fabrication of the thin film. So next, what was the process? The next process was to characterize. In fact, characterize means to study about the materials which we have fabricated, about the crystal structure, about the density, about the electrical properties, about the dielectric properties. So all these are uh, basically some techniques which are very important in the material science and engineering. Thank you very much for today, and see you next week, inshallah.